Hi friends, I'm Gio, and welcome to Backpack Boy, Part 7. May 18th. I remembered reading a passage by international author Kokoro Jones. The world will carry your body across borders, but your heart, that's a smuggled thing. It applies. The truth has broken my heart. I'm Yuli Henderson Morton, currently with a Kessel tacked on. I'm here to rescue Phillip and bring him home to Denver. Somehow, people got the idea we were newlyweds, or something. It might be because Phillip is gay, so am I, and he was medically evacuated from Uganda about 10 days ago. Cliff, my adopted brother, and I flew over to help. Cliff is in jail. I'm standing outside the police station in Nyamirambo, a district in Kigali, Rwanda, trying to figure out how to get everybody home, preferably in one piece. About 1 million motos, speed past me. The morning air is fresh with last night's rain. The sun began to sparkle through the clouds. Something cinnamon flavored the air, along with exhaust. The streets are clean. No trash, no litter. Everyone polices their own trash. Kigali is considered the cleanest city in Africa and one of the cleanest cities in the world. Doesn't matter the direction. Everywhere you look, the city has been planted with trees. It's a forest with a city hiding in it. I just seen Cliff. He has 48 hours to leave Rwanda or go to prison for theft for 3 years. He's in jail. It's up to me to get him out of the country, as well as Phillip. Today. The clock is ticking. The Rwanda Air flight leaves Kigali International Airport at 5 p.m., local time. We need to be there by 3. Current time, 9. Beata, our night nurse, had given me her number in case of emergencies. I called her. Yuile, she said. It is always a pleasure. I'm going to need some help. What can I do for my favorite American nurse? I told her what was happening and what I needed. She clucked like a mama hen. It is such a simple matter, and you can keep your money. The story is worth every penny. As to the American you hit, he is mad, mon ami, like angry Nzoka you poke with a stick. Nzoka? I asked. A devil snake with big teeth. I'm texting you an address. I'll need another backpack. Many have been left behind. I will leave a note for Mama Nina to leave one with Phillip. Orakoze, I replied. Kinyer Wandan for thank you, before signing off. The current plan called for layovers at Istanbul Airport, where they transfer to Turkish Airlines, then land at Charles de Gaulle International in Paris. From there, it's Delta Airlines to Denver International. Total flight time, 26 hours. 4 airlines, 3 continents, 2 passengers, 1 inconvenient reality. The police would have Cliff ready and at the airport. He'll have a police escort until he entered the airplane, and then a sky marshal would accompany him all the way home. I know it is petty, but I hope he wears the inmate pink jumpsuit all the way to the U.S. of A. Think of it as my private revenge for all he put me through. I raised a hand and flagged down a moto. Motos are like Ubers, except on motorcycles. Everybody used them. It was 9:45 when I reached Cliff's hotel. Almost forgotten. Cliff's suitcase had finally arrived. I arranged for it to be sent to the airport to fly away with the Cowardly Lion, Zicker's nickname for Cliff. Zickers is my best friend. All the clothes Cliff bought, and other junk? The hotel brought me a large box, and I dumped it all in. I don't have time for neatness, or laundry, clean or dirty. I dumped it into the box and smushed it closed. Let him deal with his own life. As soon as I get him home, I'm done. His wife, Charlene, can deal with him. Though it was 2 a.m, Denver time, I called home. It clicked 3 times and rang 4 before Mom answered, her voice sounding far away. "Everything okay, sweetie?" A wave of homesickness hit. I yearned to tell her that I sacrificed my seat to ease Philip's flight, but it would only burden her. "Yeah, Mom," I lied, sticking to the truth. "Cliff's flight leaves at 5 this evening and arrives at Denver by 11 tomorrow morning. Philip will be exhausted and will have to go straight to bed. I'll leave you the flight number as soon as Zickers sends it to me." "You sound tired. Are you okay?" I inhaled, afraid Mom might suspect, so I dodged the bigger bullet by telling the lesser problem instead. "I don't have the money to ship Cliff's stuff." "Is there very much?" "Hotel weighed it at 32 pounds 3 ounces, or 14.5 kilograms. Mom paused. "From Rwanda? He bought that much? Anything there necessary?" "Clothes, shoes, sandals, some kind of a carved mask," I said. "You're asking the wrong guy, Mom. If it doesn't fit into my backpack, it's not important." "Just a sec," Mom replied, her laptop booting up. "How's Philip?" "Malaria's almost destroyed him. Averages 5-hour naps, but he's getting better." "Good," Mom paused. "Are you kidding me? Expect shipping to be around $400? Not including travel charges? What's a travel charge?" "Hotel fees, shipping fees, taxes. It's considered an import, so duties and tariffs might apply," I snickered. "Besides, the shipping elves need snacks." "Your father has transferred our savings and talked to the bank about an emergency loan. It's tight. We're making a wire transfer as soon as the bank opens so Cliff can leave. That, plus the airline tickets, all the hotel fees he's racked up, and restaurants, and now this?" "I know, Mom. I'm sorry." Mom took a breath. "Don't worry. We'll figure this out. Send the package." I changed the subject. "How's Charlene taking this?" "Not good. Doctors put her on bed rest. Sooner Cliff is home, the sooner she can relax." "Tell her I'm working on it. Call you when I know more." After taking the box to the front desk and arranging for cash on delivery shipping, I took a moto to the market to think. Zickers called while I was at the stall waiting for some grilled henne. "I'm working the upgrade for Philip's seat," he said, fingers clicking on the keyboard in the background. 2 coach seats do not a first-class champagne class B, especially when I found a serious upgrade. Only happens 4 times per week, but Philip and Cliff will lay over in Istanbul for 2 hours, then take a nonstop flight to Denver. I'll need an extra ka-ching to make it all work. "How much?" "You didn't need tuition, did you?" Zicker's voice rang with bitter sarcasm. "I'm not important. Getting Philip home is." "And Cliff?" he asked. "Philip needs his nurse chapel, and Cliff needs to escape the Centauri. Win-win." "Win-win. Well, 359 still loses to the Borg," Zickers grumbled. "Don't be a Marvin. Is it done?" I asked. "Engaging warp 5 now, Captain." I put my phone on speaker, went to my bank app, and Venmo'd my savings to Zicker's account. I'm only trading my future to keep the man I love alive. As soon as the screen opened, I hit transfer. No hesitation. Philip must never know. "Just confirming," Zickers asked. "Does your family know you're pulling an Ender?" Ender, from Ender's Game. He saves Earth but never goes home. A second pang of homesickness flooded my eyes, but I fought it off. Getting Cliff and Philip home, our gate travel priority override. Philip needs the extra care first class will give him. "Does Philip realize you're staying?" "No, I don't want anyone to know," I said. Venmo received, bossman. You still want to release the Kraken? I smiled and bartered for a couple of extra spits of ahene. Let the games begin. I'll be fine, hoss. You know me. Have backpack. Will travel. I picked up the ahene, hot and sizzling, bubbling with a tangy tomato glaze, while I waited for Zickers to wave his wand. I nibbled on one of the ahene skewers. Who would have thought grilled goat would become a favorite? A one-way first-class ticket for Phillip on the Flats in Paradise, non-stop from Istanbul to Denver, Zickers said. For you, I can arrange a flight in 2 days on the SS Minnow. One-way ticket is over $900, not including fees. That's assuming you sit in the back of the plane. Way back. So far back you can hear the toilets flushing and have to flap your arms to keep the plane up. I shook my head. The cupboard is bare, Jupwe. No fairy godmother, no Gandalf, no magic carpet. You know what that means? Arnold isn't going to be back this time. I'll walk from here. Zickers quoted, I'll walk from here. The road ahead is mine, even if it breaks me. Don't make me regret lending you my Kokoro Jones. Text me flight details. Red 5 signing off. You know you'd be a tank snack without me. Don't be late, because the next available flight involves multiple layovers. Be safe. Jiminy Cricket signing off. Cliff's stuff was taken care of. Flights were arranged, lunch bought. Time to get Phillip ready for the ball and deal with his dad. Time, 11:30. I have just over 3 hours to get everybody to the airport. I took a moto to the university teaching hospital, arriving a little after noon. Clutching my backpack tight to my shoulder, I walked inside to the second floor, past Phillip's father camped out on the floor, the security guard keeping him away from Phillip, and I walked straight to Phillip. The younger man who was there earlier was here. I demand to see my son, Mr. Kessel yelled. I rolled my eyes. He couldn't read the room. He wasn't even in the room. Didn't see how his attitude had turned everyone against him. You have no right, he yelled some more. An odd thought entered my head. What kind of ripples was he creating? And what would they be like returning? I nodded at the officer. I'll handle this. As Phillip's husband, I have every right to protect the man I love, especially now when he is recovering from malaria. I turned to Phillip's dad, who was rising from the floor. Mr. Kessel, I continued, you kicked your son out of your life 5 years ago when he was only 19. He's an adult, 24, been on his own with no help from you or your wife. Alone, except for us. We are his family now. I am his husband. But he is my blood. Do you think that matters? I said, and entered Phillip's room. Then Brody used an old saucepan as a shield. The younger guy chuckled. He sat on Phillip's bed, Phillip sitting up and smiling. The tennis ball hit it, bounced super high in the air. Everybody stared, and when it came down, it hit Jorge on top of his bald head. I remember, Phillip replied. Bounced once, then Jorge caught it and yelled, He's out! I walked to Phillip's bedside. The extra backpack lay at the foot of Phillip's bed. Excellent. We didn't have much time. Damba leaned forward. You played baseball with a tennis ball? Remind me to tell you about the time I played soccer with a basketball. That was on the Marquesas Islands, the younger guy said. It was before your time, Phillip. Cyclone had destroyed one of the coastal villages and we were rebuilding the place. Brody and I were married in a rebuilt church. Damba's daughter, who was in the bathroom washing clothes, yelled something in Kinyarwanda. Damba waved his hand as if swatting a fly. Yuli, Phillip said. a smile on his face. "I want you to meet my friend, Nick Harris. I worked with Nick and his husband, Brody, in Haiti for nearly 3 months. And we've stayed in touch, more or less. By the way, Brody says hi and wants you to call him. He's visiting his folks in Dead Man's Butte for a few days." At my confused look, Nick added, "It's a little town about an hour north of Las Vegas. It makes the best apple fritters you've ever had." "It's a pleasure, Nick. But we don't have much time," I said. "Phillip, your dad's here, but we don't have time to chat. Your flight is at 3. "Nick told me you had an officer assigned to keep him out." Phillip frowned, looked at his sweaty clothes. "Did you say my flight was at 3? Are you sure I can even get on the plane?" "We'll use a wheelchair," I said. "Cliff will be there, as well as his handler." "Handler?" Phillip asked. "Sky Marshal, or whatever they call him," I said. "Cliff was the person who took my card, and he's been subject to repatriation from Rwanda." "Forced deportation?" Phillip asked. "They don't mess around in Rwanda," I said. "I'll tell you what happened later. Right now, Zickers has already arranged flights. We need to get you packed." A voice yelled in from the hallway. "By damn, I've flown from America to be here for my son, and I will not be denied." Mama Nina shushed him. "Shame on you. This is a hospital. Such impatience." Mr. Kessel doubled down and yelled louder. "I will complain to the embassy. I'm personal friends with Senator Charles Morrison, and when he hears how you've treated me, you'll lose all your funding." Mama Nina walked in, her lips pursed and brow lowered. "Yuile, there is an American of some note who wants to see his son. I can see why you kept him out. He gives me indigestion. Do you want me to tell the officer to take him away?" "What?" Mr. Kessel yelled from the hall. "I demand that you let me see my son." I looked at Phillip. "Your call." Phillip took my hand as if it could give him strength. "Stay with me?" "Who's buried in Grant's tomb?" I whispered. "This can't last long because we have to get you ready for the plane." Phillip turned to his friend, a sad smile flickering on his lips. "Sorry, Nick. It's happening fast, like usual." "It always does," Nick said. "I'm meeting Brody in Ceylon in a couple of days, so don't worry about it. It was good to see you." "Can you find us a wheelchair?" I asked. Nick nodded. As he left, I waved at Mama Nina, and she sighed. "Nick came with your dad?" I asked. "Accidentally," Phillip said. Nick said they shared the plane from Amsterdam, and Dad was the only other American on board. Believe it or not, Dad's never been out of the country before. "And he came here?" I asked, reaching for a packet of dried mango slices. Before Phillip could respond, his dad marched in, face red, eyes narrow. Now that I saw them in the same room, I could see the casual resemblance, same shade of brown hair, though the dad's had a few salt and pepper streaks. Same eyes, same curve to the jaw. Phillip had lived out in the sun, but his dad was a desk jockey somewhere. In all our conversations, Phillip had never talked about his parents, especially his father. Never wanted to step into that subject about being disowned, and I never pushed. The prodigal son who wasted the family money in living the high life. But in this story, the father never forgave the son and cast him out. Phillip had lived on the streets for 6 months before some church group helped him put his life together and get into college. Cliff had been his roommate. "Scoot over," I said, sitting on the bed beside Phillip. I gripped his hand as his father approached. Phillip's hand had chilled and grew colder as his father grew nearer. Phillip looked down. "Phillip," his father said, rolling his large suitcase behind him. "Good to see you, boy." Phillip's fingers clenched mine. He remained silent. I spoke up. "Rwanda's a beautiful country. How are you enjoying it?" Mr. Kessel glanced at me as if debating whether to answer. I don't want you here. Once again, the inner mama bear growled. I tightened my hand around Phillip's. Deal with it. What do you want? I want to see my son. Alone. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Let my stare speak for me. What ripples would this make? Phillip, I'm here to take you home. It was more of a command, not a request. To Charleston. Mr. Kessel turned to me, and, as if I were an idiot, he added, That's in South Carolina, where his family is. A coldness settled in my soul. Phillip glanced at me, then at our hands. I have a home, and a family who loves me, and a man who loves me. Mr. Kessel sighed. I've already arranged a nursing home for you to convalesce in. It's top-notch, with physical therapists to get you back into shape. Still pale and very weak, Phillip found his voice. It's been 5 years, Dad. You told me you never wanted to see me again. Told me that I was dead to you. Went so far as to strike me from your will, and you let me know it. It wasn't enough that you left me to rot on the streets, or work 2 jobs trying to go to college. You humiliated me, broke me, destroyed my old life. I'm on the other side of the world, and suddenly you show up, trying to be the good guy again? Why now? Can't a father change his mind? Mr. Kessel asked. Mom's email said you'd only accept me back if I begged for forgiveness. Phillip's tone took on a bite, a bitterness I'd never heard before. Damba's daughter quietly translated our conversation to her father. Damba whispered something. His wife rolled her eyes. The man with the TV tried to look at his TV, but kept glancing our way. Do we have to do this here? Mr. Kessel muttered, eyeing the unexpected attention. You're the one that brought it, I said. Let's get the timeline correct. Cliff has been in contact with you for some time. He must have shown you the pictures of Phillip on Charlene's Facebook baby page. Your wife, Rowena, contacted Charlene, or attempted to. Cliff sent you pictures daily. He narked on Phillip's progress, tries to spend family money, my money, to get you here. I slid off the bed and began piling Phillip's meager belongings on the bed. It looks like you were already on your way and didn't need Cliff's help. Cliff's going to feel like a fool when he hears. You land here in Kigali. Can't get a hold of Cliff because he's in jail, trying to get you here. So you take a moto to the hospital expecting to demand what? Phillip to beg? Were you going to pretend you care so he'll apologize? Then you run into the husband you didn't know he had. My God, you're insane. We don't have time for this. Phillip, we have to get to the embassy. They have your passport. Then we have to arrive at the airport, find Cliff and his escort, get everybody checked in, then relax as you fly away home. I mentally kicked myself. It wasn't time to let them know that, in order for Phillip and Cliff to leave, I had to stay behind. Wait a minute, young man. I'm talking, Mr. Kessel said. Bringing the bags of dried sosoma and mango slices to the bed, I opened my pack and put them in it. We're listening, but you haven't said anything worth hearing. Phillip, change into something clean. I don't think we can fit all of your clothes. Leave the linen shirt and the shorts. Never had time to wash them, and it's too cold on the airplane for them anyway. Hear me out, Mr. Kessel said, his voice rising. I swear I could see steam rising out of his nostrils. I have everything already arranged. Phillip handed me an earthenware coffee mug. I want to take this. I turned it over, looking at it. Handcrafted, on a kick wheel. Glazing is nice. Beata gave it to me. Her father makes ceramics for the market, Phillip said. Mr. Kessel slammed the bed. Damba's daughter snickered. Damba shouted something in Kinyarwanda. "Don't dismiss me. I came 7,500 miles for you," Mr. Kessel said. "You're 5 years too late," I said. "Stay out of this," Mr. Kessel growled. Phillip slid off the bed and onto his feet, unsteady. "You will never speak to my husband like that again." "He's rude and needs to be taught respect," Mr. Kessel said. "Like you did me growing up," Phillip yelled. Stalemate. Phillip would never get ready to leave if he was fighting with his father. I tossed Phillip a clean shirt and some cleanish pants. "Dress. Now," I ordered. "As for respect, when I see someone I respect, I'll be sure to let your father know. He reminds me of one of my foster fathers. All talk, all anger, thinks his way is the right way and the only way." Phillip stepped to the side to change, leaving his father to focus on me, just as I hoped. Mr. Kessel took a breath and bellowed, "I am his father." I didn't have a chance to say anything. Mama Nina marched in with the officer, and though her voice remained calm and quiet, it had the fury of a lioness. "This American is causing a disturbance, in the hospital no less, and people need quiet to heal." How do the Rwandan officers do it? One moment they are friendly and helpful, but when they get serious, their stare would make even a pit bull back away. "You will come with me, Mr. Kessel," the Rwandan officer said. "Are you arresting me for trying to see my son?" Mr. Kessel yelled. "If that is what it will take, but I think you would prefer to come along quietly." The officer spoke into his comm in Kinyarwanda. He didn't raise his voice, but he said in a command that he wouldn't tolerate disrespect. "Maybe you haven't noticed," I said, folding one of Philip's shirts. "Rwanda is different from other countries. The people aren't loud. In fact, they go out of their way to stay quiet. They are very respectful and friendly, not only of others but the environment. No trash, no yelling. It's a personal ethos to keep the city clean and beautiful. They do it for themselves, for their ancestors, to leave something for their children. They see the past and the pain they had to endure, learned forgiveness and acceptance to a level that we can only dream about, and are building something to be proud of." "How?" "With reverence and love. That's how you'll win your son back, and how you'll earn my respect. Not with fists, not with anger or pride, but with the belief you can build something better." I didn't even think that was possible, not until the Mortons adopted me and showed me that I didn't have to carry around the fear any longer. Their love healed me. Phillip stepped into view. His clothes changed. He tossed the dirty ones to me. I folded them and stuffed them into his bag. "Mr. Kessel, we have to go," I said. "You can come with us to the embassy, spend what little time we have talking to Phillip, or you can go to your hotel. Either way, Phillip will be on that plane at 3. "Why won't you listen to me?" Mr. Kessel said. His right hand clenched, as did his jaw. "You're not the first dad to hit me," I said, dismissing him with my voice. I wrapped a few dried mangoes in paper and placed them into Phillip's pack. "One thing I've learned, Mr. Kessel, I don't take disrespect anymore. I hit back, harder. You ever hit me again, or Phillip, well, you won't like my response." Mr. Kessel raised his hands as if in surrender. "I'll play nice, officer. Just let me talk with my son." Nick quickly stepped back in, pushing a wheelchair. "A car will be here in 5 minutes. What can I do?" Damba's daughter smiled at us and said, "I give you some goat jerky to chew on and a blanket. Airplanes are always cold. Torongera, my American friends." Nick positioned the wheelchair. I double-checked the bed for anything left behind. Phillip, already exhausted, leaned on the bed. out of breath. Dad, why now? Nick and I helped Phillip into the wheelchair. He held his pack much like I held mine. That's it? That's all you're bringing? Mr. Kessel said, toying his large suitcase and ignoring Phillip's question. What more does he need? Mama Nina said, taking the handles of the wheelchair and pushing it forward. Phillip held my hand as we walked. When Phillip arrived, Mama Nina continued, he barely had a shirt and pants. Now he has a fortune and his health and the man who protects him. Very romantic. As the car pulled up, we each gave Mama Nina a hug and thanked her. With the final Turongera, goodbye, we drove off toward the embassy. Nick sat beside the driver. Phillip, his dad, and I crowded into the back seat. The air smelled of stale cigarettes and tomatoes. A few chicken feathers drifted about us. The forgotten blessings of Oz. Zickers would have loved that metaphor. During the drive, Phillip turned to his dad. I hated you and Mom, still do. I never wanted to see you again. It's why I changed cities, eventually finished my degree in Michigan, and met some of the most wonderful people. Mr. Kessel stared out the window. Phillip continued, seeing you again nearly gave me a heart attack when I learned that you hit my husband, and that he hit you so hard you fell over. A part of me was jealous that it wasn't me throwing the punch. Nick, his husband, Brody, Cliff, and Yuli helped me see that I have something to offer to the world, that I am deserving of love and respect, even when my own parents refuse to give it. Dad, I'm not going to grovel to come back. I'm not going to beg for your love. I don't even want to see you again. So answer me, right now, to my face. Why now? Why travel to the other side of the world to see me? Mr. Kessel didn't speak. I guess his pride blocked his voice. Don't you dare say it was because you love me, because we both know that's a lie. Raw emotion dripped from Phillip's voice. His skin was cold, clammy. His hand tight and bony about mine, clutching at me with a desperation that worried me. I squeezed his hand back, willing that some of my strength would flow into him. The silence lasted for 3 breaths. In a small voice, Mr. Kessel replied, But I do. More silence. The car wove past a couple of motos. Somebody waved at us. Phillip took a dried mango slice from his bag and sucked on it. I was a foster kid, I said. Grew up in the system and was bounced around from family to family. Every rejection hurt, and still does. I learned that family shows up. It was those pictures, Mr. Kessel said, looking out the window but only seeing memory. I figured we'd have time for you to grow up, time for you to come back to your senses, time for us to come back together. We just had time. We didn't have any time, did we? What about those pictures? I asked. Mr. Kessel wiped under an eye. His voice cracked. My son looked dead. He just lay there. His head looked like a skull with skin. I didn't even recognize him. The sound in the car grew quiet, save for the quiet thrum of the tires against the road. I realized what an idiot I'd been. Mr. Kessel continued, his voice growing weaker. My pride had destroyed us. My pride had pushed my son away. My pride had destroyed my family. I came to Rwanda because my son was in need. Your husband is right. Family shows up. It was about time we did. It was about time I did. A little late, Phillip said. Mr. Kessel took a long, deep breath, letting it out as a soft sigh. I guess that's why I hit you, Yuli. Phillip had made a whole life without us, without me, without his parents. Gotten married, traveled the world. We learned he even graduated college. All without us. like we didn't matter. And then I realized that we didn't. He'd never called. He'd never write. We'd pushed him so far out of our lives that we didn't even have his phone number. Didn't even know what country he was in. In my pride, I was waiting for an apology that would never come. 5 years is a lot of time, Nick replied. Nobody spoke after that. Mr. Kessel called the airlines to change his ticket. From the conversation, he wanted to be on the same flight as Phillip. If the airlines let him, there would be a hefty surcharge. It wasn't long before Mr. Kessel sat back, a satisfied air about his shoulders. It was a little before 1 when we arrived at the embassy. Located in the upscale Kigali district, it's a place of high-end homes, manicured lawns, and polished shopping plazas. The rows were wider, better paved than those around the hospital or at the market. I'd never been to an embassy before. A thick beige wall topped with security cameras wrapped around the compound like a quiet sentinel. Rwandan guards in crisp navy blue uniforms greeted us at the checkpoint. I did the talking. Nobody else knew French. Phillip did, but he had fallen asleep. Formal gardens flanked the entrance, flame trees and bougainvillea blooming in bursts of colors. We parked, and I told the driver to wait, handing him $20 US, about 29,000 Rwandan francs. He smiled and said it would give him time to eat lunch. Nick ran ahead to find a wheelchair. Phillip walked between me and his dad, each of us taking an arm. Walking is too strong a term. We practically carried him until Nick returned with a rolling office chair. An aide held the door for us and escorted us to a waiting room. We sat at a table. A different aide brought us bottled water before a woman walked in. I'm Marjorie Wilson, Embassy Operations Coordinator. Phillip, I'm glad to see you up and around. You probably don't remember me, but I handled the medical evacuation paperwork. I checked you in and worked with Beata to get you into the University Teaching Hospital, one of the best facilities in Africa. Thank you, Phillip replied, but his eyes were glazing over. He'd been awake too long. I should have left him in the hospital, but he needs to go home. I took over. Pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Wilson, I said, and introduced the rest of us. We have a flight in a couple of hours, and we need Phillip's passport. She tapped her finger on the table 3 times. You must be the husband, Ulysses. I'll have you know that several young ladies at the hospital took interest in you. Beata mentioned that once you knew what to do, they didn't need to worry about Phillip. You made a good impression at the hospital. It was a good thing you arrived as soon as you did. It made all the difference. Mr. Kessel licked his lips and looked out the window. Henderson Morton Kessel, she continued. A triple last name. Is there a story? Henderson is my birth name. My parents died in a car accident when I was 2. Morton is the name of the people who adopted me. Kessel is my husband's name. An odd grimace flashed over Mr. Kessel's features, but was smoothed over an instant later. Next time Brody and I are back in the States, Nick said, we'll take you guys bar hopping to celebrate. What if we met in Santorini? Phillip replied, his eyes holding mine. A flicker of a smile emerging. We haven't had a honeymoon yet, Yuli. You still have that magazine in your backpack? I wasn't sure where Phillip was going with this, so I played along. Opening my backpack, I pulled out the 2017 National Geographic Traveler. Still do, and someday I want to go. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? Phillip softly said, his smile a dawn sunrise. Grant, Nick and Mr. Kessel replied at the same time. I bit my lip, smiling. Our private joke. Ulysses and his husband. Phillip's gaze remained firm. Was that a promise? He reached for my hand and held it. Santorini is a beautiful place, especially Fira, Mrs. Wilson said, and the food amazing. However, as much as I'd like to show you the pictures of the trip, you have a plane to catch. I'll be back with the passport." She returned 5 minutes later with a large gold envelope stamped with the United States seal and labeled with Phillip's name and date of entry into Rwanda. She handed it to me. "I assume you're handling the details. One thing you might want to look into when you get back into the States, records show Phillip as still single. You might have forgotten to turn in a paper. God knows it happens, and more often than you think. Or maybe somebody didn't click the right box on the computer. Whatever the issue, check on it when you get back. Future marital benefits may depend on it." Phillip and my eyes met, his expression neutral. A momentary sadness flickered through my heart. We weren't married, only pretending. Our time together was about to end. I loved him, but it was time to face reality. We were friends brought together from tragedy, kind words, and a hospital miscommunication that made life easier. I tried to smile, but I think it became a grimace. Phillip nodded. He gave me a half smile. Did he suspect this was goodbye? My heartbreak hid behind a gentle smile. Mr. Kessel raised an eyebrow and frowned. The moto had waited for us, the driver leaning against the car, chewing on dried mangoes. The humid, warm air smelled of fresh-trimmed lawn. "It's time to go to the airport," I said. The driver took the highway and drove southeast. A car had overturned, blocking the highway. It had hit an old truck, its engine smoking, spilling green mangoes across the road. The sharp-smelling smoke acted like smog as people scrabbled for the fruit. A police car had pulled up. A dozen people rocked the car, trying to get it upright. Moto swerved past the wreckage. A siren grew close. "Come on," Nick said, opening the door and climbing out. I followed, absently slipping my backpack on. We added our hands to the overturned car, hot from the early afternoon sun. The person next to me yelled, "Tarura!" We all lifted as one, pushing the upside-down car onto its side. "Tarura!" he yelled again. We pushed. The car landed on its tires, top smashed. A man sat on the side of the road, nursing his arm, blood matting his hair. "Tarura!" He gestured at the car. We pushed the car out of the way. The cop gestured, directing traffic to continue. I reached into my pack, pulled out the towel, and handed it to the man to wipe the blood off his face. He smiled, his mouth missing a tooth, and bowed his head. "Murakoze chane musaza muto." "Thank you very much, little brother." The moto driver waited patiently, engine idling. Nick climbed in first, shirt sweaty, wiping his hands on his jeans. I climbed in the other side, slipping my backpack off and settling beside Phillip. The gold envelope rested in Phillip's lap, his fingers tracing the embossed seal as if it might answer a question he hadn't yet asked. His pale skin and slight flush worried me. Was he fevering again? I watched the man with the bloody towel pressed to his face, just nodded once, as if the gesture was enough. The towel was his now, proof that for someone I had made a difference. Phillip looked at me, brow furrowed, not the way you look at a kid who tagged along, or the way he had looked at me when we shared candy cane fudge on Mom's couch. Now it was a different look. It was the way you look at someone who's changed shape in your memory, someone who's grown into a role you didn't expect. The 16-year-old kid he'd met 4 years ago was gone. This was someone else, someone who answered Tarura with action. I'd become someone who flew 8,300 miles without being asked, just to help someone I loved. "Something is bothering you," Phillip said, letting go of the envelope and taking my hand. "It's nothing," I said. "You'll be leaving Africa soon and can sleep for hours." His dad hadn't moved. He glanced out the window, not looking at me or at Phillip, arms crossed, expression unreadable. The moto pulled away, weaving through the reopened traffic. A few mangoes had been squished. The air is sweetly scented with their juice. The siren faded as we left, the mangoes replaced by a frenzy of moto rushing to make up time. But the word lingered, Tarura. Lift it, carry it, become it. As did the final gift, Musaza Muto, little brother. I would like it here. Somebody had tried calling while I was helping. Dad, call him later. A couple of texts from Mom as well. Check on them later. Mr. Kessel cleared his throat. I may have misjudged you. He didn't say any more. Was he speaking to me? To Phillip? To the driver? The Kanombe neighborhood is in the southeastern part of Kigali, and the location of Kigali International Airport. We pulled into the airport. Unlike other parts of Kigali, there were few trees, and those looked newly planted. The massive building was modern and new, something out of science fiction. Pale concrete pillars surrounded the building, its entrance a set of ornate gray stairs rising into one of the corners. Passengers were decked out in finery, as if this were a party. We climbed out, paid the moto driver, and watched him drive off. Mr. Kessel looked at his phone. I just flew in 8 hours ago. I can't believe I am leaving already. I called Zickers. Red 5 reporting in. Gate is dialed. Any last-minute intel? Cliff called your dad, Zickers said. As of 30 minutes ago, the Cowardly Lion was a free man as long as he leaves the promised land. Don't know how your dad did it. Well, actually I do, but Cliff is free. His Royal Highness should be arriving by pumpkin soon. I imagine the handoff to the T-1000 will happen before the in-flight movie. Want to know what you'll be missing? Humor me. 100-foot journey, in French, Zickers replied. Your folks have a serious hydrospanner stuck in the temporal rotor. What about? Zickers paused. I told him about the change in flights. Thought it better to sing with the angels than travel Fury Road. You tell him the 411. Surprised he hasn't called you. He has. We were busy. I'll call him later. Sooner is better, he said. A police car drove up and stopped near us. An officer climbed out of the passenger side and opened the door for Cliff. Wearing the same clothes as the other day, Cliff awkwardly exited the car, hands held before him in silver cuffs, the early afternoon sun glinting off the metal. Cliff's eyes caught mine and silently pleaded his case. I turned away. I'd make sure he got home, but I'm not sure I can forgive or forget. An attendant brought a wheelchair, and we helped Phillip climb in. As we entered the concourse, a man approached. Grim, crisp white shirt, gray slacks. He smiled at us, then frowned at Cliff. I'm Trevor Bennett, independent security contractor working for the Department of Defense. Let it show that at 2:45 Rwandan time, I am accepting custody of Cliff Morton for transfer to the United States. Will there be charges filed once Cliff reaches Denver? I asked. Not my place to know, he said. I'm going home to visit my wife, and this little side gig is overtime. The Rwandan officer released Cliff from the cuffs and held out a clipboard. Trevor signed several papers, after which the officer left. Nick bid his farewells and took a moto to wherever his hotel was. His flight to Ceylon wasn't until next Wednesday, so he was going to take in the sights. We promised to meet again soon, but in the States. I went to the ticket counter. You have 2 tickets, one for Cliff Morton and the other for Phillip Kessel, being held under the name of Ulysses Henderson Morton. For so long it had been Henderson Morton Kessel. I missed it now. Phillip sat a little taller in his wheelchair. What do you mean 2 tickets? Tell you later, I said. The attendant checked my ID. Everything has been arranged, including special medical accommodations in first class for Mr. Kessel. Any baggage? Cliff looked about, not realizing his suitcase wasn't around. One suitcase belonging to Cliff Morton? I've already sent it, I replied. You'll need to reimburse Mom for the delivery. Phillip is in first class? Cliff asked. Medical necessity, I replied. That's not fair. Where am I? You are in coach, the attendant said, her eyes focused on her screen. What? Why? Is this some kind of revenge for me stealing your wallet? I wish. It's going to be hard enough for Phillip to travel. They'll watch over him in first class, and hopefully he'll sleep most of the way. The mild noise in the concourse seemed loud with the silence that Cliff gave. I stared him down until he backed off. Phillip remained silent. His knees must have become very interesting. The attendant typed on her keyboard and examined her screen. Please understand that only the ticket holders may proceed past the first security checkpoint. Mr. Henderson Morton, you will not be allowed. She handed me the tickets. I gave them to Phillip and Cliff. Thanks to Zickers, all was arranged. Mr. Kessel had trouble. He was in another line, trying to arrange standby, and had to take whatever he could get. I helped Phillip to the restroom, and we waited on the vinyl seats until it was time. You're not coming because you sacrificed your seat so I could travel first class? He said, his eyes narrowing. It's more complicated than that, and Cliff's situation accelerated the timeline, but yes, I'm not coming. Phillip reached for my hand, clutching it hard. The look in his eyes, was that panic? It's okay, I leaned in and whispered. Have backpack, we'll travel. You did this on purpose, came to Africa, just to help me. Now you've sacrificed your chance to go home. So, for me, why? The humidity made my clothes uncomfortable and my skin clammy. Phillip's hand was its normal temperature. He must be feeling better. I thought of a million things I could say. All sounded like excuses. The real reason made me sound like an insane stalker. I told the truth even though it made me look bad. Even though it meant I'd be stuck in Africa for a while longer. Even though Phillip couldn't possibly understand. All the nights we had talked, the days I laid beside him in the hospital, the struggles I had feeding him, cooking for him, bathing him, cuddling his feverish body, praying that he'd live. It all boiled to the surface in one messy emotion. I love you, I said, voice breaking, and didn't want you to die alone. I stared at my hands, at the ink stain on one finger, at the burn on the back of my thumb from stirring the sosoma pot and not paying attention, at the odd stains on my shirt from feeding Phillip, or when the sosoma boiled and spit. Phillip leaned in close, his hand on my cheek. The kiss just happened, a warm, gentle kiss, reminiscent of all the nights we'd spent cuddling, of the tender moments I'd held him tight to my shoulder, laying in the dark as his fragile body racked with coughs. A tender kiss, filled with an emotion neither of us dared share. Until now. All too soon, they called his flight. I watched as Cliff wheeled the wheelchair into the security checkpoint, his handler walking with them. Phillip looked back at the last second, his eyes worried. I remembered the quote by Kokoro Jones. The world will carry your body across borders, but your heart, that's a smuggled thing. It applied. I watched until they were out of sight, and I learned the true meaning of heartbreak. Then I was alone. I planned for this. I called for a moto, gave them the address Beata had given me, and held on as we sped to Nyamirambo. I had my backpack. I had money in my emergency stash, both in my shoe and in my belt, and I had my phone. I'd survive. When I pulled up to Beata's house, she greeted me as if I were long-lost family. We spoke in French, and I met her husband, her 4 children, her parents, and their 2 dogs. Grandpa was in the back working on a kick wheel making pots to sell at market. A drying hut and a wood-fired kiln stood nearby. I hadn't worked with clay since I came to Rwanda. Beata noticed my entrance. Does our artist American know how to work with clay too? Grandpa moved over, letting me sit. They handed me a lump of clay. I shaped it by hand into a ball, centered it on the turntable, and recreated one of the pots I'd made at school. Grandpa took a close look. Using his thumb and forefinger, measured the distance. Then nodded. In French, he said, "We can sell this at the market. Can you make more?" My phone rang. I put it on speaker as I used a wire to remove the pot from the wheel. "Hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. Zickers told you?" "Yes," Dad said, sounding like a man of 90 rather than 50. "I should be mad, but I understand why you did it. Mom is talking with the bank about somehow getting you a new card. They said it would be easier if you got an account with the Bank of Kigali, and then we could electronically transfer money. We'll figure out a way to get you home. Somehow." "Honey," Mom said, "I'm worried. What will you eat? Where will you sleep? Phillip's not there, so you can't stay in the hospital." "Is that your mama?" Beata said, eyeing Grandpa as he placed the finished pot into the drying shed. "I will make sure your artist American boy is fed. His bones look too skinny. I will fatten him up and make him good and strong." "Mom, meet Beata," I said. "I have my backpack. I'll be fine." Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I'm Gio, and I appreciate you spending the time. Next session, Backpack Boy 8, the conclusion. Peace, my friends. I love you all.